Belief is thought, words, concept, ideas that somehow feel solid or real, part or all of the thought dream that is constantly going on, as the brain describes. The incessant symphony of perception is either believed by the brain that paints it or not. And this feeling of solidity, of permanence, never really feels quite right, because deep down it's not really cognized, but there's a feeling, an intuition that perhaps there isn't anything that's permanent or solid or stable or fixed, and that what is going on is really fleeting and impermanent and fluid and edgeless, and there really aren't borders around things. So this disparity between belief and this feeling that it's not true creates a constant state of hope and fear. Hope that the belief is true or not true, and fear that the belief is true or not true. And it's not the person who either believes in belief or not, or believes in the thought stream or not, because the person, the self, is actually the belief, the mother of all beliefs, which is the belief in separation. And this belief hurts because it feels solid. It feels like there's a solid thing here and a world out there of lots and lots of other things. And that life is composed of a you in the middle of this swirling thought dream, and it's all batting you about here and there, and sometimes maybe it feels like you can do something about it, but most of the time it just feels like you're being hit here and there, and your whole life you're trying to gain control of it. You're trying to hold on to this fluidity which you sense, and you're trying to control what cannot be controlled because there is no controller. And so the belief in separation is this thought dream, this beautiful, amazing world that the brain paints using these shared learned words, creating this watercolor dreamscape of mountains and sky and clouds and trees and people and highways and cars. But until the thought stream describes it, there really are no things or non-things. So the belief in separation is the belief in self and personal volition. It is the belief in other, more, better, or next. And there is often the belief in God, but it's not necessary to believe in God to believe in self, although the belief in God does seem to keep the self relevant. And although I never believed in God, and I never believed in heaven or hell or reincarnation, I still believed in next, even though I never found a next. So you can see how beliefs are solid, feeling solid, and even when they're not supported by any evidence. They're just something that feels permanent, and it hurts. And as you are a part of this belief, you can't do anything to disbelieve it. After the shift, there's no belief in belief, there is no belief in disbelief. None of the passion play is believed, even though it continues much as it did before. Life continues, love continues, knowing that there are no separate things, no separate events, no separate people, and no love, and no truth. And even as I am describing this, this is the dream painting itself, because the thought dream paints itself. This undermutter, this incessant roof brain chatter, which is always going on, paints the dream of separation. I remember the first time a major belief fell away from me. I had had a disease which I had perhaps cured by following a special diet. And for years it always plagued me. Was it the belief in the diet that cured it, or was it the diet itself? And so I was just stunned. I couldn't get out of this conundrum in my head, and I was flattened and rolled over. I thought, if this belief one or the other goes, then maybe I'll die. Maybe this disease will return. And suddenly, without any warning, the worry was gone, the belief was gone. It was like the beginning of the end of belief in beliefs. And more beliefs either popped like that, one by one, or sometimes huge swaths of them would pop at once. Sometimes I'd think, oh, I don't believe that anymore. And when that happens, you realize you never did. No beliefs are really ever believed. And so this popping of beliefs, I call it, because it's this image of solidity, but it's really the same space inside and outside this bubble. So it feels like a release when these beliefs are seen through. And so you feel lighter and lighter as they begin to pop. But it's usually not a very comfortable process. It usually hurts like hell, because every single thing that you've believed to be true about yourself and the world, what you're like, what the world is like, what you want to be like, or what it should be like, or what the world should be like, everything you've believed to be true is really ripped apart. And even the belief in truth and meaning, all of these beliefs in emptiness or nothingness, because in the end you realize there are no reference points whatsoever. There is no solidity whatsoever. It is simply edgeless, infinite, intimate, borderless, unfettered, wild, a freedom beyond freedom when there is no one left to be free. And this process is not comfortable. Awakening is not a walk in the park. And there's nothing you can do or not do to make it happen. Because as a product of the thought stream, you can't change the thought stream. You can't change the brain that thinks, that emits thoughts. But if you're going through it, you can know that others have gone through it, even though there aren't any others. Because as you can see, just my talking about this is painting my story. It's so beautiful to watch my story being painted. Watch my silhouette echoing in the sky. So this personal Armageddon, it does hurt like hell, and no one chooses this. No one was brave. It just happens or it doesn't. The knots tie themselves and the knots untie themselves or not.